Welcome to another MECH 1000 video. In this video we are going to do drawing 2.2 from the textbook, the center wheel. So this is going to allow us to use the circle command, which is new in this chapter. So I'm going to start, and I sometimes tend to start my drawings about the origin. You don't need to do that. It doesn't really matter in this drawing where we start. Actually, no, as I look at the drawing here, it does indicate a starting point. It wants us to start at 3.5, 4.5. So I guess it pays to follow directions. I'm going to start my circle. And when it asks me to specify the starting point, I'll just key that in, 3.5, comma, 4.5. So there's the center of the circle. And the outer circle has a diameter of 6. So right now I am about to specify the radius. So I either need to do some mental math and divide that 6 by 2 to get 3, or either type D or actually click down here in the command prompt for diameter and enter 6. So there I've got a 6-inch diameter circle. And this is an example of a multi-view drawing. This is the front view, and off to the side here, we are seeing the side view. So although there are a couple smaller circles here, and it may appear that we don't have their diameters, those diameters are given off to the right. Yeah, so see, here's the image from the book. So what I'm saying is this is the side view. So this small circle here, the diameter is not given in the front view, it's given in the side view. It has a diameter of 0.25. And this medium-sized circle has a diameter of 4.00. So I should probably point out at this point that that symbol there means diameter. I don't think we've covered that yet in our blueprint reading yet. It'll be coming up here very shortly, but that symbol means diameter. So I'm just going to finish this front view of the circle. So I'm going to make another circle, and I can again key in the center 3.5, comma 4.5, and I have a D enter diameter of 4, and this time instead of keying in the center, I'm just going to just come down from the top of the circle and the side of the circle, and they meet at the center. So I'm just going to kind of visually, since I have my snap mode turned on, snap right to that center and make a circle now that has a D diameter of 0.25. So that's the front view right there. Now we can start on the side view, and again, it's not typical for most drawings throughout the semester, but in this particular drawing, we are given the starting point for the center of the circle, as well as the starting point for the bottom left corner of the side view. It tells us to start it at the coordinates 9.5, comma 1.5. So I just key that in with the keyboard, and now I can choose the opposite corner of my rectangle, the upper right corner. So I can see by looking at the drawing that it has a width of 1.5. So I'll put that in as my x coordinate, comma, and the height of that rectangle is equal to the radius of this outer circle, because these are two views of the same object. So we know that that circle on the left had a diameter of 6, so this rectangle is going to have a height of 6. So the opposite corner coordinates are 1.5, comma 6. And that brings up a good point. I had my dynamic input turned off. And so because of that, the rectangle went to the absolute coordinates 1.56 rather than the relative coordinates of 1.56. So what I can do is redo that rectangle starting at 9.5, 1.5, and knowing that I have my dynamic input turned off, I just have to put in the @ symbol before I put in 1.5, 6. Now, if you have your dynamic input turned on, you don't need to put in that @ symbol. It will just assume that you mean relative coordinates. Okay, so let's talk about multi-view drawings for a moment. This is the front and side view of the same object, as I've been saying. So what we can do to establish some of these heights of these rectangles is to draw a line from, and I'll tell you what, I'll even turn my object snaps off. We'll talk about object snaps later in the semester. But I can, with my grid snap turned on, snap to the square at the top of that circle and draw a line over. Do the same thing over here. And let's see, the width of that part of the wheel. Let's look at these dimensions here. So the overall width here is 2.5. And the width of the center part is 1.5. And the width of that, okay, I thought we were going to have to calculate, but we don't. It's given to us right there. It's 0.5. So 0.5 is what I have the snap settings set to. So you can see here the snap spacing is already set to 0.5. So all I need to do is to put my cursor at the side of that center part of the wheel and then snap over 0.5, and I can just draw a line from there to there. Now, we haven't learned the trim command yet, so instead what I'm going to do is with this line, I can grab its end grip and stretch it over, or we could just take this line and delete it and draw a short line right there. And then we want to essentially do the same thing on the other side. Since we haven't learned the mirror command yet, we're not going to mirror it, we're going to draw it. But that's easy enough to draw. Just, again, using the snap mode. And okay, so this is going to be a little bit tricky here because this only has a 1/4 inch diameter. And although the center of the circle is on a grid line, its tops and bottoms are not. So I think what we need to do is change our snap settings, and we need to make them smaller. Now, right now, the snap is set to the same spacing that the grid lines are, to 1/2 inch. If I cut that in half, it'd be a 1/4. But I want to cut it in half again. So a 1/4 of a 1/4 is 1/8, or 0.125. So if I set my snap settings to 1/8 of an inch, I can then snap to the top and bottom of this circle. So I could snap to the top of that circle and then come straight over. I can do the same thing over there. And we might need to do a little bit of calculating here. So the length of this part out here, this like axis or axle that comes out, we have these two dimensions, 1 and 2.5, so that adds up to 3.5. And the overall width is 3.75. So that means that 3.75 minus 3.5 is 0.25. So that means that needs to come out 1/4 of an inch on the back side. So I might just draw a temporary line across there, and then draw another one that comes out. Remember, my snap mode is set to 1/8 of an inch now, so that's 1/8, and that's 1/4. And I can also draw a line across there, and then click, 2 snaps over, and then draw it down. Then I can select those 2 lines and erase them. Okay, and then the last thing here is we have this 1-inch axle on the left side. So I can, just looking at the grid lines, know that 1 box is 1/2 an inch, 2 boxes is 1 inch. So I can snap to those points from there to there. And then I'll stretch this line over by grabbing its end grip. And there we go. We have the front and side views of this center wheel drawing 2, 2. We used the circle command, the rectangle command. We adjusted our snap mode and did some stretching with grips and the erase command. So we're starting to build up our toolbox of tools that we know how to use. And this will be the pattern throughout the semester. The drawings will get more complex and we'll have to start using more commands, but we'll still always come back to the basics. So things like line, circle, rectangle, they're really pretty fundamental to doing these drawings. So we don't need to annotate, we don't need to put any dimensions on it. This is the complete drawing. So I've shown you how to do this drawing. You'll have another drawing assigned this week that I'd like for you to try on your own. Good luck.